Hey guys, just a very brief update today. Making these levels is taking a lot longer than I expected. Funny enough, I actually thought making the levels would be quick. And in my mind, I had about 10 different levels, each one with a specific mechanic that I wanted to emphasize. Like the mirrors is going to be one level just dedicated to it. Another one was going to be the carrying blocks that you can carry everywhere. Then the specific switches, etc. But just looking at the reality of the time I have left, I cut that in half. So now, if I can even make 4 or 5 levels, I'll be very, very happy. Um, but you can see here, just filling out this space. This is level 2 when you're coming in. Um, I barely have enough of a challenge here. It's going to be mainly platforming with obviously some of the blocks you can see here that you have to flip, and some of the switches here that are going to switch the blue geometry. So it's most likely not going to be as much of a puzzle, but more of a platforming with some clever mechanics, emphasizing the switching mechanic. Um, Hopefully it should be fun. I really like the all of this jump pads, and you can see here obviously it's going to bounce you up and down really, really fast, and it looks really fun when you're in first person. So hopefully that comes out nice. And here is what I'm working on right now. These are death cubes. If you touch one of these cubes, you die instantly. And I'm introducing yet another mechanic here, which are the moving platforms, which I was going to do this in another level, but again, I'm trying to collapse everything because I just don't have enough time. Um, so this is what's going to happen. You're going to be jumping from platform to platform as you're moving around, and you have to avoid blocks, right? Jumping and flipping things. So that's hopefully going along fairly well. I'm hoping I can finish level 2 today and start on level 3, which I have some puzzles that I have in mind. But the really cool thing I wanted to show today was actually adaptive music. This is the very first time I'm doing anything with sound in Unreal. Actually anything with sound at all. And pretty much any game nowadays, if you play it, you'll notice that it's not a static track just playing. The way they do it is they have all these different layers, and based on what you're doing at the moment, they activate or deactivate certain layers, and they fade them in really nicely, right? If you're playing a game like Skyrim and you're going up a mountain, you'll notice that the chorus is going to start like adding extra layers, and it just gives an amazing feeling to it. So I'm working with somebody that's an actual composer, and he sent me the very first track for level 1. And you can see here, it's actually composed of 3 different layers, and when you play them together, then it makes a nice little tune. But the cool thing is that I'm able to create a cue and then layer these tracks in a very specific way. So if you listen to each individual one, I'm just going to play it for like 2 seconds. You can hear that obviously they sound kind of incomplete because they're meant to be played as one. Um, but these are all 20-second loops. So what I did was, based on the recommendation from Frank, my teammate here, is instead of having him mix it in his software and just give me a track that loops, I'm doing that myself in a sound cue. And this is super simple. I was very surprised at how simple this is, but basically I have all of the different tracks layered here, going through a modulator and then a mixer. So right now they're all playing and going to the output here. But if you use a continuous modulator, you can use a float parameter to modulate the pitch or the volume. So the idea here is that every 20 seconds I'm going to pick one of these tracks randomly and mute it, fade it out. And then 2 other ones are going to continue playing. So effectively, every 20 seconds, you're changing the tune of the level to either have one that's missing or none at all that's missing. And this is a super simple blueprint. But let me just show it right here. So I moved all my music code into just a simple blueprint. And all it is an event. It picks up from the data table what the music should be for the level. It sets the sound on the audio component, it hits play, and then it does custom event loop tracks, which is a timer on a 20-second interval. So every 20 seconds, you're going to generate a random number from 0 to 3, right? 1 of 4. And you're going to switch on that, and then let's say if it's value 0, you're going to mute track 1, which is this one right here, with a float parameter called track 1, and you're going to have track 2 and 3 be obviously audible. And this is basically mute track 2, mute track 3, or if you get another random value here, you're not muting any track whatsoever. So all of the tracks are going to be with a value of 1. And just for testing purposes, every time a track is excluded, I'm going to print a statement saying I'm excluding track 1 just to test that it works, track 2 or track 3. All that does is basically, as you're playing the level, every 20 seconds the track will change in a random pattern, so it will never repeat. This is really, really cool because this is just the base, right? If I want to have yet one more layer, say like a really upbeat track, like a baseline, like in this part of the level, the user is going to be, the player is going to be going, you know, in a very fast-paced environment, going from platform to platform. Maybe you want to add like a little oomph to that track. All you would need to do is add a little trigger here that goes to the music player, and then do something similar to this, and just have that float parameter for that specific track be 1 instead of 0. So you have a ton of different options here, and this is just going to be the base. But I'm just going to hit play here and just look at the output log just to see what's being ignored and what's being played. I'm going to play this for about a minute just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about here. I'll be quiet. Alright. Obviously the nature of random means that you're going to exclude track 2 3 times, right? For a full minute you were listening to the same track, and then eventually picked track 3 to exclude, and then he said don't exclude anything. That's really what I wanted to show. It's you basically have a 25% chance, obviously you're picking 1 out of 4 of one of these tracks to be excluded, and 25% chance of the whole full 3 tracks being played. And it's super simple. So obviously for the purposes of the game jam, this is as far as I'm going to take it. But now knowing this, if I ever work with somebody else that knows about music and they can layer even more tracks, like a combat track, for example, you can have like an extra bass line for a combat, like a really fast bass. This would be the way to do it in a very smooth way. And of course you can fade it in. I have some comments here. If you do decide to download the project and you want to do a fade, you can do it. I already have the code. For the purposes of this this level 1 music, I actually like it without the fade because it just flows seamlessly. I don't like the kind of the flowing volume levels. but it's there if you need it. Uh, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully I get this done and I can start on level 3. Time is running out, but I figured I'll share this. I really, really like this because sound is one of those things that is kind of really hard to nail down, and for most of us, my experience, sound is definitely something that we have no clue about. In my opinion, it's easier to learn how to model in Blender or rig than to really actually write good music. So super excited. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.